skills are archaeology, potential is meteorology. Skills will tell us where somebody has been, potential tells you where they can scale or where they can go. AI is excellent at the first. I would think really we haven't measured the outcomes to the second.
Hiring feels like it's changing faster than we can keep up. With AI coming into the picture, not just as a tool, but almost as a collaborator, the rules of talent acquisition are being rewritten. So the big question is, what really matters anymore? Welcome to Hired by IM Jobs and All Things Talent, where we break down the biggest shifts shaping the world of work. Today, we are getting into AI and the new rules of talent acquisition because hiring, as we knew, it's clearly shifting. And to break this down, we have a very special guest with us, Swapnil Singh. Swapnil is a talent acquisition leader, group director at Omnicom Global Solutions with 2 decades of experience shaping scalable, future ready hiring systems in global and regional roles. She works at the intersection of talent strategy, governance, and AI, challenging legacy hiring proxies and helping organizations make sharper, evidence based decisions about what's in as a talent strategist and business solutioner. Swapnil, welcome to Hire.
Thank you, Bishrajit. Thank you for having me here, and thanks for the warm welcome and the kind words that you've just spelled out. I hope I do justice to this podcast today.
Absolutely, I have no doubt about it. So, Swapnil, there's an observation. So, I feel that we are at an interesting point where candidates are using AI to prepare for interviews, and companies are using AI to evaluate them. So, in some cases, it's basically AI talking to AI, and we are all just hoping the humans still matter.
The irony is that we call ourselves human resources and we are trying to assess talent through machine, right?
Great. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
interesting.
Yeah.
And
So we are
I'm
humans talking about AI basically. Yeah.
AI,
You wanted to
basically,
add
yes.
something.
No, I was just saying that that's basically exactly what you were saying, that it's basically humans talking to the AI machine, hoping that they understand human language better.
Totally, totally. Great, great, great. So I feel this is going to be a very fun conversation and a very important one as well. So
Hope
let's
so.
deep dive into it. And because a lot is changing and honestly a lot of noise is being generated as well. So I'll start off with my first point of discussion. Like, so everyone says that AI is transforming hiring, but if you had to call it, what's actually broken in the current hiring model that AI is finally forcing us to confront?
I think the first thing I would say is that our hiring is broken because of the very mere fact that the resume was never a talent document. It's a class document. For decades, we've built an entire hiring infrastructure around a piece of paper, which was mostly a reliable signal for access. And you'll say, what access, Swapnil? I would say access to the college, access to the right network, the right person, or rather, should I use the word familiar? We called it like a qualification filter, but it was rather a familiarity filter. AI isn't breaking that hiring anymore, it's removing the illusion. So let me just talk
Interesting.
a bit more about it. The resume was never neutral. AI made the undeniable resumes function less as talent evidence and more access proxies for educational pedigree, network or domain proximity, familiar languages, and formatting norms. So, for decades, all of us would pretend that this was meritocracy because we were looking at historical filters of core background similarity than capability. When what AI is today exposing is when we are able to scan, compare, normalize hundreds of skill signals across thousands of profiles in second, it becomes very obvious that many top resumes don't outperform. What am I trying to tell here is to we aren't using the resume, we aren't hiring we are hiring for what the person has already demonstrated, but are we really hiring for the future? That's the point which I would like to call out. I often see hiring managers call out, I want someone like the last person who did the job well. This this was working earlier, but is it something that we're looking for the role in the next 16 to 18 months? And that's where possibly that kind of failed. And we are seeing those gaps come out through AI, because AI is removing, AI is able to sort, map, and say, okay, these are the set skills which the person has had a proven record historically. But the question is it what is required for the future? So when AI surfaces candidate who don't look like the last hire but map strongly to the future needs of the role, it really forces a bit of uncomfortable realization that were we hiring earlier for the next 18 months, or we were just hiring for familiarity?
I mean, that's such a strong way to frame it, and some really important points. Like, one takeaway is like the system isn't being disrupted, it's being exposed, as you rightly said. And I think also what I feel is that which really stands out is that what you said is the idea that the resume was never truly a measure of talent. It was a proxy for access, for familiarity, for pattern, and maybe recognition as well. And basically we have built an entire let's say a hiring system around it, because like you said, it felt defensible. And what AI seems to be doing now is taking away that comfort layer. I feel that it's forcing us to confront the fact that a lot of what we called objective hiring was maybe actually just structural bias or structured bias, or uh, at the very least
Familiarity.
structure, yeah, convenience, exactly.
Or the
Exactly.
hiring manager saying, okay, I had the person doing this as my last job. And I've heard that happening in even job descriptions. People making, oh, the person was doing this. Is that really what you want the person to be doing in the next 18 months? We didn't ask. Or if we asked, we went ahead with what we thought, okay, this is the norm. So let's go ahead and follow that. That's being revolutionized right now.
Totally, totally. And so if that layer is now getting stripped away, so I would also say that you talk about hiring for capability over chronology. But when AI can map skills instantly, what's the new signal of potential that humans still need to read?
Okay. Maybe I'll begin with a bit of humor. I would say skills are archaeology, potential is meteorology, Vishwajit.
Oh, interesting.
AI is excellent at archaeology. Does it understand how to read meteorology? Is something we still need to figure. So essentially, what I'm trying to tell you, skills will tell us where somebody has been. Potential tells you where they can stay or where they can go. AI is excellent at the first. I would think really we haven't measured the outcomes to the second. It maps what someone has practiced, survived, been paid for. Useful. I wouldn't say not useful. But it cannot tell you what a person will do when they face pressure that they've never faced before, or they are in a different situation. And I'll give you an example. I once interviewed a candidate who had a CV with a 3-year stint in a government services, followed by a career in a counselor role, followed by running up a small startup that didn't scale really. On paper, it looked like she was not sure. She's been searching. We don't, where is she going to land on, right? In the room when we were interviewing her, she was the sharpest thinker, from an operation standpoint. She knew all the nitty gritty. She had looked at different diverse setups, and she asked very strong questions. She'd been trained by hard experience to question assumptions before acting on them. I have had few more such experiences. In fact, I very categorically remember I hired a fintech veteran. We hired her to lead one of our business units. She had scaled non-tech ops team from 10 to 200. No tech background. She nailed it in 6 months because she was a builder. She knew how to evolve, question around uncomfortable situations. And she had the experience to go through various, I would say, domains, scale it up, tried her hands, enough for her to showcase that capability. And we went ahead. So what I read for now, and I train every recruiter in my team to read for, is how a person handles that edge of their knowledge. Does the person go ahead and try and cover it by fancy language, jargons, or they lean forward and say, hey, I haven't faced this specifically, but if I were put in this situation, then I would do this, or this is how my approach would be. And hence my, at least I try that for roles which are important, I use an evaluation lens which is simple. What did you build from nothing? What was broken when you arrived? What's the hardest thing you've done in your job recently? It really brings out a lot of those constraint, resistance, how candidates have moved in their careers, what can they build? And that's what I do. So instead of obsessing over polished JDs and answers, I ask the person, what will the person actually do in a situation which is not predicted? How does the person think that he or she can help the role evolve? Basically, the best candidate, according to me, in the room or for a role is not somebody whose resume gives you the familiarity access, but gives you more and gets you going. Oh, this is the breadth of experience that I bring along.
Understood, understood. The first distinction that you made, like skills as archaeology and potential as meteorology, that
Was a
really
bit of
lands.
humor.
Yeah, no, definitely. But there's a lot of reading between the lines over there, and you have explained it so beautifully. So I don't think there's much left for imagination. But because it almost refrains the role of recruiter entirely, right? Like from someone who's validating what exists to someone who's trying to sense what could exist. And I my the point about how people behave like at the edge of their knowledge, because that's not something traditionally we have optimized interviews for. We have optimized maybe for confidence, maybe for being
Education,
exactly, education, completeness.
familiarity for that matter, that
Yeah,
do they have
not
what it takes?
not for curiosity or, let's say, learning agility, if that's a trait. So a lot of interesting points that you actually have raised here, like after giving that analogy. And maybe that's why a lot of non-traditional or non-linear candidates have historically been overlooked. And that's why there's a lot of buzz around portfolio careers. So b- do you think AI is accelerating this shift, or just making companies more comfortable hiring non-linear talent?
I would say that let's think of it this way. Companies aren't getting braver. We're getting more desperate to find the right talent. And that's not the same thing. The same talent was always there. The person with 6 roles across 10 years who looked unfocused on a traditional CV, or seemed somebody whose stickiness was always questioned. In most cases, what we were looking earlier as well is someone who had built a combination of competencies that a linear career simply didn't produce. Different sectors, different problems, different ways of getting things done. That's not scattered. I would say that's range. I had, and I'm talking about a recent experience, I had a hiring manager recently reject a candidate because she'd been at 4 companies in 7 years. I asked him a simple question, even without judging. Hey, do you know what did she actually deliver at each one? Each one. And he paused. He hadn't checked. He just counted the lines on the CV and made a call about commitment. When we went back, and both of us jointly, thankfully, he was very supportive, and look back at the impact, the growth metrics, the team sizes, what she'd been hired to fix, she was one of the strongest candidates in the pipeline. He had nearly missed her because her path didn't look tidy, or, his definition of stickiness kind of didn't match. What AI is essentially doing is it's making the non-linear talent more readable. When a skill graph surfaces today that your scattered candidate, or I would say the so-called non-sticky candidate, has in-depth stakeholder management, operational problem solving, cross-functional experience, communication built through, handling different profiles, all those through maybe and some unrelated work, the conversation shifts because the data made the invisible visible and remove the excuse. The uncomfortable truth here is straightforward. Candidates who were passed over for 15 years because their careers didn't look messy, their careers looked messy, they didn't look, there were questions around loyalty, but the signal was always there. We just didn't build the muscles to read it, or we made a choice that that's not something we want to read. AI has made that possible. Our ability to see it finally has just caught up. Quite frankly, it's an apology that we owe to our previous talent.
So what you're really highlighting here is that there is a shift in visibility, not necessarily a shift in talent.
No, there isn't. It was
There isn't.
always there. We
Mm.
just didn't choose to see it.
So it's we who are actually doing the upgradation part, right? And also I like
Think
how,
so.
yeah, in this point of discussion as well as in the previous one, you gave such interesting human anecdotes as well, like how a person's career graph goes from one point to another, and also like these profiles, these the so-called non-linear or portfolio careers, they've always existed, been around, like but earlier they were either misunderstood or just filtered out because they didn't fit a particular or a clean narrative. And now with say AI making those patterns legible, suddenly the same candidate looks interesting instead of risky, which, if you think about it, is a bit of a reality check for how narrow our definition of talent has been.
So I truly believe that our past hiring, I wouldn't say there aren't exceptions where around familiarity, that, what has been conventionally good, that's what we've learned. We've never thought, how many of us go to a hiring manager and say, hey, you're saying what's required. So, first of all, we do a shitty job, I would think so, in or a very good job. There are two ways to look at it in doing a job description. We put in all the fancy things in the world. That as a hiring manager, as a team, how many of us have gone back and questioned that whatever you put in the job description is something that was required for the role 18 months back, or it's the same thing that will be required for for the next 18 months? How many of us are questioning whatever you put on the resume, what are the must haves and what are the desirables? And is it a desirable because that may be a requirement for the next 18 months? So we chose to do what was conventionally happening. And then machine just came and made that data visible to us on a platter and said, it's time to look beyond. That's what I would say.
Great, great. And I think it also raises the point that when while leveraging AI as well, if are we actually in, is that particular organization or that particular company or that particular leaders department in dire need of that AI, and how much of it is, are they raising the pertinent questions, the problem statement, and then working on then taking on AI, or are they taking on AI and then realizing these are the problems? I think
When judgment
along
is always required, right? AI cannot do the human judgment. It can do operational stuff.
Absolutely. And like these, it also raises an interesting question though, like because AI gets better at surfacing and structuring all of this information. So like if AI is becoming this silent team member in recruiting, where does human judgment become more important, not less?
I would just think that Let's assume that AI becomes exceptionally well at measuring everything. What will recruitment be left to do? I think three scenarios or moments are very clear to me, and I've lived each one of them. First, context. The AI model cannot hold it. AI scores against patterns. I've
Right.
spoken to candidates who've had like a gap in their career because maybe a parent's illness or they decided to take a sabbatical to live life. A candidate who left a high growth company because it was maybe genuinely toxic, or she or he had chosen a health. The AI system today flags them as gaps. A human is the only one who can decide whether to understand them. If not, if left to AI, these would be skimmed out of the system. That decision, I think, is a live demonstration of what humans can do. You cannot delegate that to a machine and then claim that a culture then is human centered, right? That's not
Right.
something you would do. Point number two, I would say the choice or the closure. I have been a recruiter all my life doing talent acquisition 20 plus years. I have had situations where I have always felt that the best candidates are choosing you, not just accepting you. I've seen strong candidates turn down better paying offers because the recruiter made them feel genuinely seen or gave them the visibility of their career, understood their hesitation, spoke honestly about role challenges, made them feel like they were making a decision that's important and just not being processed as another application into the system. And that talks about the organization and culture also. So I would say nobody till yet, and that's what my experience is, has ever accepted an offer because the system AI made them feel something important, or that moment where a person on the fence decides to say, should I check, should I say yes to offer A or should I say yes to offer B? It's human who can speak with conviction, not just with information. AI will just process the information. That's what I would think. Thirdly, I would think the bias audit that nobody wants to do. AI recommends based on patterns. We've all known that. It's a machine.
Right.
If your top performers over the last decade shared a background, let's say, same university, as I said, familiarity, same prior employees, same demographics profile, your model will keep surfacing that profile. It doesn't know it's doing it. It's doing the biasness. I've seen organizations run AI, screening pilots, congratulate themselves on speed. I'm sure something good's happening, but wonder why later their diversity numbers didn't move. Are we thinking of that? Are we challenging? Sure, there are pros and cons to each, but that's something that cannot be pure. Human cannot be pure algorithm. When you're recruiting, what are you doing? You are searching for talent. It has to be somebody who has enough authority, judgment, and conviction to say, let's look at this differently. I would say delegation to AI is smart. Abdication to AI is negligence. And that's what we all need to know.
Valid, very valid. Some really interesting points as well. And rightfully said, like what I feel really stands out is what you're saying that as systems get smarter, the responsibility doesn't disappear, it actually becomes sharper.
Yeah.
Because AI can optimize for efficiency, consistency, even pattern recognition at scale. The moments you called out, like context, conviction, ethics, those are moments where
Choice.
decisions,
Choice. When you're
choice.
deciding as a candidate that you know which organization to pick, I have offer one, I have offer two, or maybe I have an offer. I don't know whether this is the right organization for me. Those are some
Absolutely.
things only we can do.
And yeah, and those moments, like you rightly said, are decisions that carry consequences and not just outcomes.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, and
I always
also
say that as talent acquisition, we have the ability to gift an individual the gift of a career. It's a very noble career that I think.
yeah.
Maybe I am a bit biased to my profession, but you have the ability to make, shape, help, decipher somebody's career.
No, I totally second that because once a leader, a very senior hiring leader, had told me that this is like baptism by fire, and those decisions just don't impact hiring metrics. They shape someone's career, and in many ways, they define what an organization also stands for. Uh,
Obviously.
yeah.
So organization, sorry for interrupting, I'm very
Oh yeah. No, no,
passionate
totally, totally.
about talent acquisition and hence I keep on talking a lot. If an organization was made of brick and mortar, it was very easy to run. But organizations are made of talent who are humans, right? And that's why if you and we all need guidances, we all need our avengers, we need mentors. I think we have the opportunity to do that as a part of our role.
I feel that which also means the role of the recruiter can't stay what it once was. And because since the process is getting automated, let's talk about recruiters as career coaches in a world where candidates use AI to prep, to apply, and even simulate interviews. What does real guidance from a recruiter actually look like now?
I would just say, just imagine of a situation. If everything, we offer as talent acquisition to a candidate, they can already get at it from a chatbot. You're not a career partner. We are a scheduler. Just imagine a candidate calling you at midnight and saying, "Hey, I'm stuck. I'm not sure which career option to pick up." AI typically would say, "Hey, I mean, obviously AI is programmed to be for a particular organization. It would say, okay, this is what it is." That's not, what recruiters are required to do. That's intentionally uncomfortable. Just imagine walking in and I use, very funny examples. Somebody walking into HR, the employee experience being moved to a chatbot and saying, "Hey, I'm not feeling well. I've had a rough day at home." And the AI machine saying, "Hey, you know what? Noted. Thank you very much. Take care." How blank, how uncomfortable that would be. So I would say a significant part of what passes a recruiter's guidance today is not exactly interview tips, resume advice, salary benchmark, all of which a prepared candidate can pull from an AI tool faster and more tailored than anything we could cover. We could be actually reading a script for them. We need to be honest about that. What cannot be replicated, and I think is where the intelligence of a recruiter lives, double quote relationship. And I would talk about why relationship. The recruiter is that one person who can call out the real reason the last person on a particular role left, not the Glassdoor version.
Okay,
Whether high
absolutely.
growth environment in the company means exiting exciting scale, or it means you will have three managers in 2 years. Pardon my humor. The hiring manager actual hot buttons. Does it does it need one person to do the job, or what is required for the role, whether collaborative culture means genuinely flat structure, or it means until the leader or the director speaks. I'm just giving an example. Whether
Good.
this company's fast growth trajectory is exciting, or there are hotspots. That's insider context. It cannot be scrapped by an AI. It lives in a recruiter who's been embedded in the system long enough to know the difference between what a company says and what it doesn't, and what does it require from the person who's going to be onboarded. And that's human judgment that only a recruiter can make. Real guidance is strategic advocacy, knowing where to push a hiring manager on a candidate as well, they and which they may have overlooked, knowing which part of candidate story will land well with the hiring manager, knowing how to get someone through a process that was sin designed with them in the mind. Maybe the process thought, okay, I'm looking at somebody with 5 years of experience in this particular. Oh no, does it what is required in the next 18 months is a question, or 24 months for that matter. And then I would think there's a human moment that no AI will ever replicate. A candidate
Absolutely.
at 10 p.m. in the night before making a decision, scared, second guessing, asking if they are making a mistake. There is a Glassdoor version which says, oh, this is a good company or not so good company. The recruiter who picks up the call, not because it's a process, but because they actually care that's the job, is what the real crux is. Everything else to me is administration. And that's the gap between the two, is where your career lives. Whether you are just a scheduler or you are somebody who's, helping somebody pave their career.
That's honestly a bit of a wake up call, I feel like, because what you're describing is the very different, is a very different definition of value, like moving away from coordination and information sharing to, say, let's say something far more
Right.
contextual, relational,
Contextual,
and even
right?
emotional, as you said. And I think that
I'm thinking that, is the hiring manager also thinking what is required in the next 24 months? Is it, what they want to see? Or you making them see what's required to be seen in somebody whom they had not even ever thought of. And I'm sorry about to talk about this one particular example, which is very close to my heart. In one of my previous organizations, we were hiring for a supply chain role. And I was leading this, and this was being dealt by one of my recruiters in the team. And she came to me and said, Swapnil, we've been hiring. This role's not closing for the last 2 odd months. Okay. And I had my eyes on that role, to be honest. So I picked it up and said, what's going wrong? And she told me, Swapnil, the role requires a combination of a supply chain manager plus a technologist plus certain things, and so an academic qualification of supply chain as well. So experience, technology in experience plus an academics in supply chain. And we were hiring. I mean, I was a part of a consulting organization, and we and I asked, why is all three necessary? Have you asked the hiring manager what's required for the person to do? And she said, oh, he's somebody very senior. I'm not very sure if I could go and ask him. And he says it's required for the job. Very well. I requested her to set up a call with the hiring manager and say, let's have a conversation that what's required in the job. It appeared that we were delivering a technology project to to a supply chain client, and that's where we needed what we needed. But we really didn't need the person to have a supply chain background. We needed a technologist expert, which means a technologist who's worked in a supply chain background would work enough for us. A qualification or a degree wasn't needed. But the conviction to be able to work to the hiring manager and say, that's not what you require. That role requires this. And this is what the candidate has. Let's give it a shot. And the conviction to tell him that, hey, you know what, we have genuinely have a good probation period. I think we as recruiters undersell that. If it doesn't work out, but what's the cost of not filling this role in the next 3 to 6 months? Because hey, that this kind of a talent is not something which is genuinely easily available from a talent study. So I think these are the kind of conversations which I don't think an AI can anyway walk through or walk out and convince the hiring manager.
I mean, what you just mentioned, this entire example which you share at the last, I feel like it may sound like one process, but that's not process. It's that the trust that requires a lot of critical thinking, experiential learning, and being prescient. Yeah. So, which also means that as AI takes over more of the structured part of hiring, and I want to end like on a maybe a slightly uncomfortable note, or rather a point of discussion. Like if AI keeps improving at screening, matching, or even interviewing, or the maybe if I be a bit more bold, that the example that you just mentioned, if somehow AI manages to uh, find some footing in that as well, what part of talent acquisition do you think will genuinely disappear in the next 3 to 5 years?
As somebody who's progressed through, these ever evolving changes, I would say something without grief, and this should have gone a long time ago, because most of it deserves to go in according to me. And the list says bulk screening calls gone. not reduced,
Okay.
simply gone. If the process includes a 15 minutes call currently from a recruiting standpoint to confirm notice period, salary expectation, and AI does that better, faster without making the candidate feel like an afterthought between, the two calls, and doesn't feel like an interview. That isn't a loss. It's a correction. We were missing on recruiter time for them to be able to do more meaningful work. S- so that's one. The job description that lists 12 requirements where the role genuinely needs four. Retired. We've all written them and we have put down our wish list or approved them. JD is built copying on last year's version, adding three more requirements after the last hire didn't work out. The result, we deter strong candidates who read requirements as actual gates. And there are other smart candidates who've learned to pattern match, who know what is required to do and still apply. But aren't we missing a lot? The answer is yes. And are we doing, is all the 12 requirements really needed on the job? No. So AI generated role briefs is able to help build around the actual outcomes that are already producing more honest, more focused pipeline. The wish list JD is gone. The third thing I would think is the first round. Tell me about yourself. With no structured criteria, sharply diminished. The 30 minutes conversation that, any one of us could be having as a part of a recruiter screen or as a part of an HR round, where a recruiter really gauges that how's the candidate's clarity, structured thinking, consistency, um, all of these. We should be honest about that rather than a practice, this wasn't serving candidate or companies. We have AI tools who can assess communication clarity, structured thinking, consistency with more reliability, and lead to less bias, because I, as an hiring manager, may end up liking somebody who has the best polished English. What I think will not disappear, and these are three things which I said should definitely disappear and go to AI, is the offer conversation, the strategic intake, the relationship building, the courage to advocate for the candidate, which the data undersold. The recruiter who knows this company well enough to tell a candidate the truth about, you know, how exciting is it going to be, or, what are the challenges that may lie ahead. Or the TA leader who walked into the boardroom and it's one of the recruiter who tomorrow evolves into that role, uh, saying that, a 3 year skill gap analysis and said, we need to hire this now before this becomes a crisis. So, in short, I would say, and sorry for the long answer, the transactional layer of this profession should be automated. That's not a threat, it's an opportunity. We should all look at it. The relational layer, the judgment layer, the courage layer, that should be elevated. If we are building, any one of us is building a career in TA right now, we should know which layer we are actually operating in, and then decide deliberately whether we want to be a scheduler or we want to evolve as a talent solutioner. I think the role that will disappear will be the ones that were never really about people to begin with. It was an it's an invitation to be better than the role has ever asked us to be. And that's what we need to evolve into.
I think there's a lot to unpack here, but I think the big notion that comes across everything, encompasses everything that all you've said, is that the shift from transactional to truly strategic and relational work, and almost a redefinition of what it means to be in talent acquisition, not just as a function, but as a capability within the organization. Like some really valid points and something to definitely ponder on. With that, Swapnil, I have to say that this was sincerely a very refreshing conversation with some very interesting takes. I think you have put words to a lot of things people in talent acquisition are sensing right now, but maybe haven't quite articulated this clearly, especially around what's actually broken versus what's actually exposed. Archaeology and meteorology being one, and I personally really admire the way you broke down the shift from transactional to truly relational work. That really stays with you, stays with anyone who will be listening to this. And thank you so much for taking the time and being so candid with us today.
Thank you, Vishwajit. It was really, I really enjoyed talking to you. And as I said, I am uh, very passionate about what I do. So I end up, bringing in a bit of humor because that's something I want people to understand. AI is not there to replace us. It's there to elevate us. How do we leverage that? We see it as a threat or we see it as a partner, and we know where to where to give up to an AI or where to use the human judgment. I think AI is made by humans, so that judgment really has to prevail. That's the only thing I would ask people, all of us to think about.
No, definitely. Like any a few points, like every situation is a bit easier when there's a bit of humor, because at the end of the day, humor comes out of from a pain of something which is probably not right or something which is not normal. So I think that's very interesting. And definitely thank you for this conversation. And I hope this further creates more such avenues for further conversations and makes people come together to realize that how we can leverage AI in the world of talent strategy. Thank you so much, Swapnil. Thank you for your time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Biswajit.
And for everyone listening, there's a lot to think about, especially around what we value in talent and how we made those decisions. Thank you for tuning into Hired. We'll be back with more such conversations. Till then, keep listening to us and do subscribe to our channel.